finally starting well, I already had a YouTube, but we are finally, like, seriously starting now. Okay, so story time, right? So, some of you may know that I have a horseshoe kidney. And aside from a horseshoe kidney, I also have, well, you know what, I'm not claiming any of it, I don't have it, but I was tested positive for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And polycystic ovarian syndrome can kind of show itself in a few different ways, and sometimes, I mean, it doesn't have any symptoms, but really what it is it's a hormone imbalance. For me, my cycle was never regular. It was always irregular. It would come when I was like, I would say high school, early 20s, it would come like, it would skip like 2 months, but now it comes like every other month. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is a hormonal disorder causing enlarged ovaries with small cysts on the outer edges. Some of the symptoms include like acne or facial hair, but again, not everybody has that. People may experience, like it says, you can have abnormal, abnormal periods, or just no periods at all. Some people get it like once a year. That would be like an extreme polycystic ovarian syndrome case. Your menstrual cycle is like super heavy, or it's just irregular in general. It can be like too short or too light. Like in my case, like I feel like it doesn't really last as long as it should, things like that. And they say it can cause like obesity or weight gain and things like that. It can cause acne or oily skin, and it can cause infertility, it can cause depression. It says inappropriate male features, loss of scalp hair, or unwanted hair. I lose a lot of my hair, like it comes out in clumps. So yeah, that's what I tested positive for. I tested positive for that, I would say when I was 24, and I'm 28 now. So, had it for a couple of years. I know, what it is. But now, being married, the infertility is obviously a concern. And aside from that, I also have a horseshoe kidney. And a horseshoe kidney pretty much means, I was premature. I was supposed to be born October 25th. I was born October 31st. So, because I was born early, it caused an abnormality in my kidneys. Pretty much they didn't get a chance to continue to develop. So, what it is that they fused together and kind of caused like a U shape, because like kidneys are like this, and whereas mine are like kind of attached in the middle. So they kind of, they're here and then they kind of fuse. And it can cause, I mean, you really don't have any symptoms. Some people don't, but they say, based on my research and based on what I've been told by my urologist, some people can, live, 25 years or so without any symptoms, and then you'll start to have symptoms after. And that's actually like by the book, like how mine happened. Like I had no idea that I had a horseshoe kidney until right before my 25th birthday. So yeah, and some of the symptoms for that, I mean, there aren't really any aside from, I mean, there can be, but for me, I just have like abdominal pain, and that's what even caused me to go to the doctor in the first place, to kind of like, to kind of like see what was going on, because it had been going on for a long time, since like, I would say 2010, 2011, I would notice like when I would wake up from sleeping in the middle of the night or in the morning, that my lower abdomen would like hurt. It'll be like, like pain, like I've been holding my urine for 24 hours, like, and I never understood it, but I kind of ignored it, thought it was just, like I had a sensitive bladder, not sensitive, but a weak bladder because of my prematurity, whatever. But I'm honestly, in a place where I'm still trying to figure everything out. Everything is still super overwhelming at times, and you know, you kind of meet with doctors and kind of try to put the pieces of the puzzle together and figure things out. Yes, so back to horseshoe kidney and what it can bring. You are more susceptible to UTIs, kidney stones, certain type of like kidney cancers and things like that. And it may or may not cause an issue for some people with trying to get pregnant. Every horseshoe kidney case is different, so there are different levels to it. It just depends case by case. I sometimes like abdominal pain, like it'll be like my whole left side. It's like super annoying. But yeah, like my whole left side, like it's like super uncomfortable. Like I wake up quite a few times. I would say I wake up at least twice a night, which is irritating when you're trying to sleep. It's just been a lot. I don't know. It's just been a long journey. Yay. But anyway, this past week, this past Thursday, it is now Saturday, so literally 2 days ago, I went to see an OBGYN to talk about my husband and I being married and obviously wanting to have children eventually and wanting to try. Prior to my appointment on Thursday, I saw my urologist like the week before, and I told him I was going to see my GYN. So my urologist gave me the okay. He said, you know what, let's run some tests. We're going to do a renal scan and an ultrasound and a CAT scan, all that stuff, just to make sure everything is okay. And once everything comes back, I mean, yeah, you have the green light, you can start trying, right? Now, I go see the OBGYN. I told her, yes, tested positive for PCOS or whatever. Oh no, I said I have PCOS, and she said, what makes you think you have that? And I said, I tested positive for it quite a few times. And she said, okay, well, you can buy an ovulation kit, and it's probably going to take you like a year or two to get pregnant, you know, upon like really trying and stuff like that. And then I told her, you know, I also have a horseshoe kidney. And I was like, you know, my doctor, my urologist told me, he suggested that I tell my OBGYN, you know, that I want to try to have a baby, but also communicate that, hey, I do have a horseshoe kidney. And what my urologist told me was, since you have a horseshoe kidney, you cannot have a C-section. That's all he said. You can't have a C-section because of the placement of your kidneys, you know, whatever, it's dangerous. Can't have a C-section. Cool. So what I said was, well, how do you avoid a C-section? Like, what if it's an emergency or something? He's like, 9 times out of 10, C-sections are not emergencies. Doctors plan them most of the time because they don't want to wait, you know, for your 3 a.m. baby when they can do it between their 9 to 5 shift, things like that. So a lot of times they're planned. Yes, there are some cases where they're emergency C-sections. But in my case, he's saying, you know, regardless, you can't have one. So after I told her that I had a horseshoe kidney, I was like, you know, my urologist suggested that I tell you that I have a horseshoe kidney because I can't have a C-section. She was like, no. You want to know why he told you to tell me? Like, I was like, no, why? I mean, I thought it was because I can't have a C-section. She goes, no, because you have an abnormality in your kidneys, so it's more than likely you have an abnormality somewhere else. Like you may have an abnormal cervix or abnormal uterus or double uterus. I don't even know. I don't know medical terms, but that's what she was saying. She was like spitting it at me, like, you know, so you need to get an MRI and make sure that you don't have that first. But it's just like the way she was talking to me. She was so like dry and dismissive and just weird. Like I didn't like her aura at all. Like I was just like, okay, as a doctor, as a medical professional, in my head, I didn't say this to her, I wanted to honestly. But in my head, I'm like, you know, as a medical professional, woman to woman at that, I mean, infertility is hard enough. and then for me to already have this horseshoe kidney thing going on, for you to just casually say the things that you're saying, like you're talking about, like, yeah, you can go pick up a blueberry muffin from down the street. Like, she was just saying it so carelessly, with no compassion, no sympathy or empathy or anything. It was just kind of just dry and really kind of mean the way she was speaking. And I feel as though a part of being a doctor, you know, is especially the love for the medical field. Like, if you want to help people, you know, my heart, if I were a doctor, I mean, I would say, hey, here are some lemons that you have, but I'm going to help you make lemonade out of them. Like, you know, try to be positive. I mean, she was just so negative. I say that to say, the next thing she said to me was, yeah, so you might want to look into getting a surrogate. I mean, that's always an option. I was like, wait, rewind, what? Like, she said it so, guys, she said it so casually. I don't know. I mean, it's not like throwing a pity party, because at the end of the day, God reigns over it all. But I don't know. I just expected different. You're delivering kind of like not so good news to someone, and you're just like, bleh, yeah, get a surrogate. I'm just like, okay. I just feel like, let's cross that bridge when we get there. Like, let's do the MRI. Let's do these tests and then see what's on the other end. Like, to just throw all of that at me without really knowing that it is 100% a fact, it's kind of like, it's like disheartening. Like, geez, like, this is my life and my body that you're just, you know, I don't even know the word to use right now. It was just so frustrating, because it's like doctor after doctor, office after office. Like, people have stories, people have struggles. And I mean, as a doctor, a medical professional, you go into that field to want to help people, I would assume. And it just didn't seem like she wanted to help me. And I say that even more confidently because at the end of the doctor's visit, when I went to check out, and I called my urologist, their office, and I let them know, like, hey, she suggested that I get an MRI to make sure that there's no other abnormal, abnormalities or abnormal functions or whatever in my other organs. The first thing the woman said on the other end of the phone was, okay, did she order the MRI? So you know how doctors, when they want you to get a certain test, they have to order it. They write it up into a script or whatever, it gets sent. She wrote nothing. So you're suggesting that I get an MRI, but you don't even order it. So it's just kind of like she just could care less. She's just like, get an MRI. But it's not like, get an MRI, come back and see me because I actually sent the order out for the MRI and let's talk about it. It was like, get an MRI. And then on my paper it said back in 1 year. So she wanted to see me in another year. So that was an example as to why my trust and my hope is not in man. And what I mean by man is not like a man, but I mean mankind, people. We can't like put our trust and our hope and our full understanding in like people. Because at the end of the day, God is the author and the perfecter of my faith. And at the end of the day, he's the ruler and conqueror of all things, and he reigns over all things. And he reigns over all things that a doctor says. He reigns over all things that my thought says, that anxiety says. And it's crazy because in that moment that that doctor said those things to me, what, the first thing that you want to do is believe her. You want to feed into the doubt. You want to feed into the fear. You want to feed into the anxiety. And I kept having to tell myself, like, what are you going to believe? Who are you going to trust? I'm not discrediting a doctor. Doctors, God put doctors on the earth for a reason, for them to help us, for them to, be able to perform amazing surgeries. I mean, doctors are absolutely awesome. But not all doctors actually have it on their hearts and actually feel a tug on their hearts and of compassion and to really want to help somebody. That doctor was just flat out, here are the facts, here's what it is, goodbye. And I'm not even mad at her, but what I'm saying is that moment was a test for me. It was an opportunity for me to make a choice. Are you going to continue to feed into the anxiety and the doubt, or are you going to trust what God said even when it doesn't look that way, even when you're being told the opposite? So at the end of the day, circumstances can be one thing. Circumstances don't even have to change, but God reigns over it all. I've seen people with polycystic ovarian syndrome with 3 kids. My mom, I think when my mom had me, I don't think that polycystic ovarian syndrome was really a thing that was diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure she had it. My mom had irregular periods as well, and other symptoms. And she had trouble having children as well. My mother had a miscarriage, she had infertility, she had to plan for my sister and I both. But we're here. So at the end of the day, I trust and believe with all of my being in my Lord and Savior. So at the end of the day, this is just another opportunity and another testimony that's going to come out great to show how good God is. I'm not going back to fear. I can't. I cannot. I literally can't. I can't afford it. So what I've been doing, I've been working on getting back to me, getting back to enjoying the journey. And, you know, so I say all that to say, like, I'm back. I'm not going to allow anxiety or, you know, health challenges to stop me from moving forward and walking in my purpose. There are going to be times where it's not going to be easy. There are going to be times where I'm going to want to give up, but I am going to fight with everything in me, because it can always be worse. There are beautiful people, beautiful mothers out there who've had babies with lupus and with, you know, sickle cell and cancer, all types of illnesses and autoimmune diseases, and they're rock stars through it all. So I'm not going to allow a possibility from, you know, a possibility or an opinion or a proposal from a doctor of what she thinks could be. I'm not going to allow that to shake me. I'm going to lean on God and His truth and His promises, and we'll see what happens. So I will update you guys on my doctor's visits and how the MRI goes, and you know how everything, what it shows. But God is going to see it through. He's started a good work, and He's going to see it to completion.